All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Joe Douglas gave an interview to ESPN earlier this morning and talked about some of the draft moves along with some of the plans for the franchise as we move forward here before the start of the season. So he said some things that I really liked. He said some things that I really did not like. Let's dive in topic by topic. And I think it's important to start with how the Jets are viewing the free agent pool. Right? Obviously, the draft is done. We've signed our crop of undrafted free agents. By the way, I'm really excited about that class. I really think Monroe, the corner from Tulane, is going to. That was probably one of my favorite undrafted free agent acquisitions in a long, long time. I'm really happy the Jets snagged him up. By the way, I did videos on all the undrafted free agents that the Jets brought in, which I can leave the link down below in the description box. Pretty lengthy list. I'm a real big fan of a lot of players, but in any case, when Joe Douglas was asked about the future adding veterans to this team, he said that they would like to, but they don't really have a lot of money to spend in that category. And I got to be honest, it's pretty disappointing to hear that. Look, I understand that the Jets are all in. We have big contracts, CJ Mosley, Aaron Rodgers, Quinnen Williams, right? Guys are getting paid a lot of money. Alan Lazard. But man, it's disappointing because we just traded away John Franklin Myers, in my opinion, a valuable piece on the defensive line, a versatile player who can play on the inside or outside, playing a 3-4 or in a 4-3. Somebody who does a good job of setting the edge, somebody who I felt like meant a lot to the locker room. We gave him away for nothing. For nothing. A 2026 sixth round pick on draft night. Man, so we traded him away, again, for hardly any value whatsoever, freeing up some cap space. We actually found a trade partner for Zach Wilson, right? Coincidentally enough, it was the same team that acquired JFM, but we were able to clear at least a bit of Zach Wilson's money, right? Which is a positive. There was a belief that, man, there's no takers for Zach. There's, a situation where the Jets might have to eat all of Zach Wilson's guaranteed money and just let him go, right? Just cut him and just, take on all that dead money. But we actually found a trade partner, right? We got a couple picks back in return. So that was, in my opinion, unexpected. So all of a sudden we are moving on from a quarterback, saving some money there. We're trading away, a versatile piece on the D line for nothing. And we still don't have much money to sign veterans. It's like, at that point, I would rather just try to keep JFM and try to restructure his deal or ask him to take a small pay cut. Now, who knows? Maybe the Jets did. And JFM was just like, man, I've been a Jet for a long time. No, I'm not doing that. And then the Jets said, okay, well, see ya. You're going to Denver. Maybe that's how it unfolded. Douglas did say that once they acquired Hassan Reddick, that they knew they weren't going to be able to keep John Franklin Myers at that salary. So maybe they were working behind the scenes for weeks on end and they just couldn't figure it out. But man, you just got to think, if the Jets knew that this was coming down the pipeline, that something else would have transpired. We would have gotten a better deal, maybe a pick in, a closer draft. It was super weird, super weird for a win now team to trade away, because it's not like a situation where JFM is missing 10 games a year, right? He's this injury prone player, that we just have to deal with, and he's making 25 mil a season. It's just like, finally we found a trade partner. Nah, JFM was on a decently sized deal, but Joe Douglas gave him that deal, and again, it was just weird. Just a super weird, strange situation. But, the point is we move him, we move Zach, and we still barely have any cap space. We're looking at the free agents out there. Man, there are some damn good ones. Quandre Diggs. How is Quandre Diggs still out in the open market? It's beyond me, right? Justin Simmons is an animal. And I understand the timings of everything. The NFL draft is obviously the spectacle of April. Tyler Boyd is still out there. There's plenty of options out there for the New York Jets, guys that I feel like would be great fits. Nate Herbig, if he's released from the Pittsburgh Steelers, would love that. And there's definitely positions that I want to continue to add to the roster before the start of the season. But in any case, that's kind of where Joe Douglas and the Jets stand with how they're viewing the upcoming, I guess, maybe free agent signings over these next couple of months. Next up, there was a lot of buzz and smoke on draft night from the Jets beat reporters that the Jets loved Odunze. They really wanted to get him. Not only just that, but they also tried to trade up for him, and they failed. Douglas wouldn't go into detail on whether they did try to trade or did not try to trade. And I think it's interesting because, again, this was a class, and we talked a lot about it before the draft, where in my opinion, it was going to be so hard to mess it up. The Jets could have went in like literally 6 or 7 different directions. Trade back, trade up, Fashanu, Fuaga, Bowers, Odunze, Neighbors here. Like, there were so many different options, so many different possibilities on draft night that the Jets could have done. And we would have walked away as a much better football team. I think overall a pretty good grade in the first round. But it really kind of felt like Odunze down the stretch there, right, leading up to the draft. Odunze was the Jets guy. That was the player that they realistically felt that they could go out and land. I personally felt like he was going to be there at spot number 10. Odunze fell to spot number 9, of course, with Chicago. He ends up going there. But yeah, apparently the Jets tried, according to the Jets beat reporters, they tried to move up for Odunze, but they were unsuccessful. Now, speaking of the draft and trying to trade up, apparently the Jets were trying to do the same exact thing with wide receiver from Western Kentucky, Malachi Corley, the receiver that we ended up with in round 3. I was a massive, massive fan of that pick. Built low to the ground, just a ton of muscle. Just so electric with the football in his hands. I think he's going to be an instant contributor, not only just in the slot, but also on gadget types of plays along with special teams. I think Corley is a short-term and long-term, short-term instant impact type of wide receiver that is immediately going to help out and benefit this offense. Somebody who I'm really, really excited about. But in any case, again, according to the Jets beat reporters, they were trying to move up as far as pick 45 for Malachi Corley, which is obviously 20 picks from the point that we drafted him. So it was clear that the Jets identified Corley over lots of different wide receivers, although I felt like lots of receivers made sense for New York. They wanted Corley. They really, really wanted Corley. So they got their guy, which is good for us, and we didn't have to give up extra draft capital. Now, in regards to Jordan Travis, right, this was somebody who the Jets identified early on in the process. Jets fans were all over this. I want to say since November, December. Jets fans were talking about draft Jordan Travis in the mid to late rounds. Draft Jordan Travis. In some cases, they were. I remember Jets fans talking about drafting Travis before the leg injury. Now, obviously, the leg injury, in my opinion, probably dropped his draft stock. Obviously, happening so late into the season against Southern Miss, which was just a heartbreak. I remember watching that game. But in any case, the Jets land him, right? And the Jets fans got their guy here. Apparently, Todd Downing and Nathaniel Hackett visited Jordan Travis in his hometown, and there was just so much smoke there from the beginning. Again, like there was the top 30 visit. It just kind of felt like the New York Jets drafting a young developmental quarterback was 100% on the table, even when the team had Zach Wilson. Obviously, they moved Zach Wilson. I think that opened up the door for it. And then from that point, it kind of just felt like it was a two-man race between Jordan Travis and Michael Pratt. That was another guy that was being hyped up a lot. There was a lot of supposed interest there in New York. Not much interest in the top 6 guys. And then even with the Spencer Rattler, I can't remember seeing a single report or going over a single meeting with Rattler and the New York Jets. It really just felt like, again, that two-man race between Pratt and Travis, and the Jets went with Travis in the end. So I'm excited for it. I think Jordan Travis has a great, great foundation that he's going to be walking into, to learn from Aaron Rodgers, to learn from Tyrod Taylor, to have some weapons, at his disposal to just kind of go, first of all, heal and rehab, and then when he's healthy, just hit practice, hit the quarterback room, and just be a sponge for years, right? Nobody really knows what's going to happen with Rodgers' future, but I think he's going to be here this year and next year. I think 2026 is going to be the year that I'm circling for a young quarterback maybe getting a crack at the starting gig. So I think Jordan Travis is, again, a good bedrock or good infrastructure in place with the New York Jets. Man, and then last but not least, the plan for Olu Fashanu is to play left tackle, but Douglas did say that he's going to be practicing at right tackle. He's going to get practice reps at right tackle and maybe other positions. Man, I do not like this. I don't like it at all. Now, look, I'm not Joe Douglas. I'm not the team doctor. I'm not Keith Carter. I'm not some offensive line coach in the NFL. But I just really want the offensive line to stay intact the way it is with the players' best positions. Now, I understand it. Hey, it's training camp. He's a young player. He still has so much room to grow. What if his ceiling is higher at guard? What if his ceiling is higher at right tackle? But for me, I get it, right? The New York Jets value the positional versatility on the offensive line. We did this a year ago where we were literally having day-by-day changes to the O-line, practice after practice, right? Becton going from the left side to the right side, McGovern going from center to guard, Tippmann center to guard, who else? AVT playing on both sides of the line of scrimmage. There was just a lot of Carter Warren, Max Mitchell, literally day by day, just one day they're left tackle, one day Carter's left tackle, next day he's right tackle, following day he's left tackle, and just a back and forth game. I really think because of the amount of injuries on this Jets offensive line, because there's been so many concerns and questions over the overall production of the offensive line, I just want each individual player, and I think AVT has proved, and Joe Tippmann too a little bit, they've proved that they can bounce around, moved a little bit. I don't want to necessarily be swapping positions with these offensive linemen, and then especially with Olu Fashanu, I want to stick him at left tackle, the most important position on the Jets offensive line. I know he can probably play on the right side, but I'm just not even going to mess with it, right? You have a great starting lineup with Tyron Smith, who's healthy, John Simpson at left guard, Tippmann at center, AVT right guard, and then, of course, Morgan Moses at right tackle. And then we have a couple of young depth pieces behind him, right? My ideal situation, or I guess depth chart for the Jets this season, would be that starting lineup, and then behind them, Olu Fashanu, backup left tackle. I would re-sign a Connor McGovern who can play guard or center, and he could kind of be that swing interior offensive lineman. So if Simpson were to go down, or if Tippmann were to go down, you would have Connor McGovern there to kind of just fill that role. You also have Wes Schweitzer as a backup, who I would probably feel is maybe best suited for backup right guard. And then behind Morgan Moses, you have Carter Warren and Max Mitchell. That's kind of my outlook for the offensive line right now. I feel like it's really, and again, I'm not an offensive line coach. I'm not the team doctor here, but I feel like it would just be more productive to just play these players where they're currently at. And because it all kind of just stems from the philosophy of you can't move forward constantly in the same direction if you're being pulled in a bunch of different ways, right? How much better is Fashanu going to get at left tackle if 30% of his snaps are at right tackle, and then 5 to 10% of his snaps, practice snaps I'm talking about, are at guard? So he's already not going to be rolling with the ones. I would much rather have 95, 100% of the snaps invested in one position. I feel like you can't consistently move forward if you take one step forward, then one step to the right, then one step to the left, and then a step back, 2 steps forward, 2 to the right, I just want all these steps going in one direction. Pick a direction and go down that path. So, man, we're gonna see what happens. Again, I don't want to put too much stock into it. It's an interview that's happening in April. We still have months before training camp gets going. Rookie minicamp is right around the corner here. But again, for me, I do not want to see stories about these offensive linemen swapping positions all around. And there's also too a theory or a thought from fans that maybe this is contributing to the amount of injuries that this team has, to be constantly playing different positions on the offensive line, because it's not as it's like people lump safeties into the same pool, but there's distinct differences between, you know, a traditional free safety and a traditional strong safety. Wide receiver, same type of deal, right? You got your X types of wide receivers, you got your slot type, different types of wide receivers that are all, that all have different roles with different teams. O-line just feels a lot different than those other positions. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.